Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. PNP caretaker Dennis Meadows removed as party's provisional candidate for North Trelawney. EOJ defends delay in election results. And later in sports, Cavalier out of CONCACAF Champions Cup. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. The People's National Party PNP has removed Dennis Meadows as its caretaker candidate for Northern Trelawney Division. This following remarks from Mr. Meadows recently endorsing scamming. This is a video which landed Dennis Meadows in hot water with the PNP.
Especially one you call themselves chopper. Let me tell you straight up. And he can speak openly. I have no problem with a man if he want chop. Because them chop us during slavery. So nothing wrong if we chop them back. My only problem with the chopping is when you bingo and you score. Use the money wisely. Set up yourself. Open a business. Make sure mommy look good. Make sure your baby mother look good. But don't take the money and use energy and wash car.
24 hours later, he's got the boot.
We've had discussions around the matter. The fact that open support was given for what is criminal conduct, and even a recommendation was made as to what they should do with the illicit proceeds. We are of the opinion that we could have come to no other decision but to make a change in the candidates.
In a statement this morning, Party President Mark Golding says Mr. Meadows' continuation as the candidate is untenable in light of his remarks. He says scamming is one of Jamaica's most serious national security challenges. To other PNP members, Mr. Golding said, "Let this precedent be a warning." He said, quote, "We are demanding higher standards of accountability. Jamaica will no longer tolerate weak, unprincipled leaders who say one thing but do another. Jamaicans deserve better, and I will give it to them." End of quote. Mr. Meadows yesterday apologized for the comments and acknowledged it was out of place. Mr. Meadows resigned from the JLP in March 2022. He joined the PNP in October of that year. He then moved up the hierarchy of the party, becoming chairman of the constituency and then caretaker candidate. Meanwhile, the calls are getting louder for the Prime Minister to take action against Southwest St. Catherine MP Everard Warmington. Lorraine Mendez reports.
Speaking with supporters in his constituency, Mr. Warmington suggested that he will be withholding government funds from a PNP councillor-elect in his constituency.
But me in charge of stuff. Listen right now. I'm the Minister of Work. I'm a member of Parliament. No PNP councillor going to spend my money.
He has since apologized, but civil society groups believe Prime Minister Andrew Holness should go further.
I think the proper thing to do would be for him to tender his resignation. Mr. Warmington's statement can potentially open a door to the past that we just don't want to go back to a time of political violence. A time of political tribalism.
Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, Michael Jackson, believes Mr. Holness must separate himself and the office from Mr. Warmington.
This is not the first. This is an individual who has used expletives at the media, shown his middle finger at the media. This is not the first time Mr. Warmington has endorsed and has displayed acts of political victimization, denigrated the constituents who have voted not only for his political party, but for that of the opposition. This is an individual who just up to recent times have made comments that suggest that the government of Jamaica will be gerrymandering an entire parish.
Ms. Jackson says the two main political parties need to take a new approach in how they address these issues in this new era of politics.
I think at some point, the political parties have to level up themselves and say to the Jamaican people that this type of politics in Jamaica has no place in 2024. Our democracy certainly needs improvement, especially, Dion and listeners, when you look at some 30% voter turnout. Apathy is not only because people have no interest in voting, apathy is because we are disgusted by the process that we're seeing.
Reporting for TVJ News, I'm Lorraine Mendez.
Meanwhile, the Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, has responded to critics about the delay in announcing the local government election results. Mr. Brown says despite public opinion, the OJ is within the time frame of a final count. Karen Simpson reports.
The Electoral Office of Jamaica has been facing criticisms and backlash from the public, anxiously waiting on the final results from the local government election. But Director of Elections Glasspool Brown says the EOJ is well within its stipulated time frame to issue the results.
We have never in this country, as far as I can recall, ever released final count within 24 hours. The election was on Monday night. Was on Monday. We completed and issued our preliminary results by 11 o'clock on Monday night. That was the preliminary results. There's another phase, which is known as the final count. I think one of the problems that persons need to understand what is entailed in a final count. So to ask us to complete and say we are behind or we are slow is that somewhat unfair to us.
Mr. Brown admits there were glitches on the day of the election as well as during the announcement of the preliminary count.
In every election, certainly there are issues that come up, people not able to find their polling location because the necessary pre-check wasn't done. There are issues that persons are saying that they can't locate their name on the list, etc. So those things came up and we did address them.
There was a concern, though, that the preliminary count, even with that, some individuals complained that it did not give up-to-date information.
I understand there were some issues in terms of the fluctuation of the internet service, etc., and some other issues. But I've asked for a report. They didn't. So I'm awaiting a report. So I don't want to make a final comment on what transpired then until I get the report in hand.
There were also issues with Citizens for Free and Fair Elections, CAFE, and the media that was not allowed inside the polling area. Mr. Brown says he will be meeting with CAFE next week to discuss the matter. As for the media,
in terms of the journalists, I've heard, I've yet to get a report in terms of what happened. I'm seeking to make some contact with the Press Association of Jamaica. Certainly there's an understanding that we have with the Press Association of Jamaica, that project journalists, or what should happen on the day as it relates to journalists. We will see what happened. I'll get that report and then we'll review what happened.
Karen Simpson, TVJ News.
The Electoral Office of Jamaica says the final count of the local government election should be completed today. Speaking on Power 106 Morning Agenda, Director of Elections Glasspool Brown says the team has been working overtime to ensure the process is completed on time.
Certainly, it should be close to 200. The electoral division being finalized up to last night into early this morning. So, by 1 p.m. we should be able to say we have completed our count. The next step is to inform the parish council, and then they will undertake a swearing in of the new councillors. I think I understand that to be done sometime next week.
And in an update a short while ago, the EOJ says counting has been completed for 218 of the 228 electoral divisions. It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Overcrowding continues to be a major issue at the Mandeville Regional Hospital. According to the senior medical officer, the situation is worsening. Amoy Harriot reports.
The issue of bed space at the Mandeville Regional Hospital is not new to the facility, but Senior Medical Officer Dr. Everton McIntosh says the problem is even more chronic now on the wards and in the accident and emergency areas. Dr. McIntosh says the long-term effects from the COVID-19 pandemic continues to contribute to this issue. He says while COVID numbers are declining, there's been an uptick in patients needing treatment for serious medical problems.
So you're talking about strokes, heart attacks, heart failure, severe asthma, cancers, and things like that. And these persons tend to be long staying because of the nature of their illnesses. And it contributes to a perennial overcrowding in our wards. So we basically are out of bed space to come in. Most of these patients are what we call internal medicine patients as opposed to surgical patients.
The SMO says although measures are in place to speed up recovery, there are still persons with non-related COVID medical issues needing admission.
Some of those patients, for example, may require blood transfusions. So we do have quite a number of persons who come in with severe anemia. They need to be transfused before they can be discharged. But we have another problem there because there is a chronic lack of blood in the hospital. And so we are not able to give the patients the blood that they need. And so they end up taking up more space because of that. And there are multiple issues why persons have to be staying in the hospital long.
Dr. McIntosh says the long-term solution is to expand bed capacity. That plan, he says, is already in train as lands have been acquired adjacent to the hospital.
So we are at the phase here. We are looking at, drawing out the plans and trying to decide, what facilities, what areas will be put into that area. The general thought is that we would relocate most of our outpatient facilities to the new sites and reserve the current site for inpatients, so where we can do some renovation and increase the bed capacity.
Amoy Harriet, TVJ News.
Some residents of Port Morant in St. Thomas are calling on the authorities to debush the area. They say for months the JPS wires have been tangled with overgrown trees. They are fearful it may cause harm, especially for children who use the road for school.
It has been tearing on the service line and nobody at all looking at it. I will keep on complaining about it. Days upon days, weeks upon weeks, months upon months, years upon years. It's been over about 6 years since it's been like this, and no one has been paying attention. As you can see, it getting worse and worse. Look at it. It has been coming out on the road.
So they need to come do them work. Dangerous right here. Both people and vehicle. They need to come do them work.
At the last municipal corporation meeting, there was an appeal for the reinstatement of a JPS office in the parish. A physical office is needed to deal with customers' issues. It's now time for the Business Minute.
The National Housing Trust is expected to process fewer mortgages in the new fiscal year, which starts April. In the latest Jamaica Public Bodies estimates, the government says it projects the processing of 8,955 loans related to home and property ownership, compared with 9,900 in the current fiscal year. The trust, however, expects to spend $46.6 billion to start and complete housing developments. This is more than the $34 billion programmed for the current fiscal year, which ends March 31. The NHT says it plans to start the construction of 15,009 new housing solutions for 2024-2025, up from just over 2,000 for 2023-2024. 3,664 housing solutions are to be handed over in the next fiscal year, as against 1,627. Further afield, Chrysler is recalling more than 338,000 Jeep Grand Cherokees due to the potential risk of losing control of the vehicle. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the recall also includes a longer Grand Cherokee L. The affected SUVs are all from the 2021 through 2023 model years. Drivers of the affected vehicles may notice unusual noises going over bumps. Owner notification letters are expected to be mailed in mid-April. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Hal Shane Burke.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, on Wednesday raised concerns about the method used to send the president of the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, Dr. Hyginus Jean Leon, on administrative leave since January. The CDB has remained tight-lipped on the circumstances surrounding the decision to place Leon on leave. Acting president of the CDB, Isaac Solomon, confirmed at a bank news conference recently that there is an internal administrative process involving the president, but did not provide any further details. On the international scene, the U.S. Supreme Court decided on Wednesday to hear if former President Donald Trump is immune from being prosecuted on charges of trying to overturn the 2020 election. Mr. Trump had claimed in the landmark legal case that he was immune from all criminal charges for acts he said fell within his duties as president. But a U.S. Court of Appeal panel rejected Mr. Trump's argument. He appealed the case to the Supreme Court and asked to put that decision on hold.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Spencer Darlington.